everyone was like, OJ, 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 OJ. And I'm like, wait a second.
I had no idea where I wanted to go or what I wanted to do. There's been marriage, there's been divorce, there's been kid, there's been, now there's kid and dog, actually. Yeah, educator leap of faith. Oh, gosh.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to my podcast where we explore inspiring stories and actionable insights to help you thrive in your career, life, and beyond. I'm your host, Sindhu Nair, and today I am excited to introduce our guest, who is an inspirational woman, a adopted mother, a wonderful friend, and someone I admire so much. Welcome, OJ. Welcome to my podcast.
Thank you. I just want to give you a big virtual hug now. Thank you so
Big hug.
much. Yes.
OJ is, so just a bit of background, OJ is the founder of KI Leaders, a coaching and talent advisory business. And we will today dive into her journey, her career insights, and her advice for navigating transitions and navigating the corporate world. So welcome, OJ, to the podcast.
Thank you.
So glad to have you here. Let's get started with, so let's start with understanding your career a bit and help us understand, where did you start from? How did you navigate through your journey of life, your journey within the corporate world, your journey as someone who's leading a company right now? So yeah, over to you.
Okay. Gosh, there's a lot that we can cover in there. But I will say my career journey I started out in marketing. I graduated university with a degree in business, and I had no idea where I wanted to go or what I wanted to do. I went into marketing because, frankly, that was one of the subsectors of business that I was like, this is interesting, this is fun. So that's that was the start of my career. And then I bucket my career almost into 3 chapters. So that was part of my career at the beginning. And then I parlayed into executive search. So I spent close to 10 years in executive search, both in Toronto, which is where I'm based, and also in London, England. And the third part of the career is how I got into coaching, which is where I am now. The life journey has been interesting because, there's been physical moves. There's been marriage, there's been divorce, there's been kid, there's been, now there's kid and dog, actually. The dog is a very important part of my life, and that journey continues, and who knows where it will go from here.
As you're speaking, there are so many more questions that are coming up to my mind.
So many layers. It's like, where do you want to take it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. No. But you said, you spoke about family and you spoke about your career.
Yeah.
What tied the two of them together?
It's, I think that is tricky. It is tricky to keep them separate is what I'm saying. That's my personal opinion. And again, the older I get, the more advanced I am in my career journey, the better I am at figuring that out for myself. So when I started, it was all me. You can be selfish, right? Yeah, right. But there's, you don't have, I call it the 2 M's. You don't have a mortgage, you don't have a marriage, and you can be selfish, right? So you can pick up and move. I moved into nonprofit for a while. Yeah, when I first started in executive search, I took a job where it was 100% commission. I wasn't paid a salary. So I was only paid on the work that I performed and did and the business that I brought in. Now, I wouldn't have been able to do that if I didn't have a partner who was able to say, it's okay, I've got you, right? And so I wouldn't have been able to take that job if it was just me. That was a family decision, right? It was a family decision to move to London, England. It's interesting how life sort of becomes a little bit part of your career journey, right? It's impossible for me to talk about moving back to Toronto. I got divorced, and I would love to have stayed in London, but I couldn't because I couldn't figure out how to make ends meet financially for the life that I wanted. So that was the journey. People ask me in interviews or, why, explain the moves, and you have to bring your personal life to it. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's always intertwined. It cannot, I personally, that is also my opinion. It is so hard to separate that, especially after your early years, as when you grow, not just age-wise, but maturity, everything, and then you
Yeah.
start thinking about other things as well.
I, what struck me is also when you're happy in work, you're probably happy in life, right? When you're unhappy in work, whether or not you do it intentionally, you bring home that stuff, right? So your family gets exposed to the ho hums of dragging your feet on a Sunday, or asking how your day was, and you go, oh, right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I get that.
When you move to London, and we see a lot of people, I'm coming from my experience being an immigrant. So many people
Oh.
great to Canada as well. When you moved to London, what was the challenge that you faced in terms of adapting?
When I moved to London, I made a strategic decision. I wanted to stay in executive search, but I made a strategic decision to move into a larger global executive search firm where I wasn't doing everything. So in some ways, some people would say, well, that seems like you've taken a demotion. But in some ways, actually, it was just a different experience. I don't even know how to say it. It was just a totally different experience. And I couldn't run into a new country and say, now I'm going to build business and do everything. That was too overwhelming for me. So I made that decision. I remember distinctively being in London and picking up the phone and talking to somebody and not understanding a word they were saying.
Oh my goodness.
They were speaking in the same language as me. I thought this was going to be easy. I didn't understand a word they were saying. The accents are so wide and varied. And I actually, gosh, this poor guy, I remember saying to him, sorry, say that one more time. I can't, I'm not sure if I heard, you know what? I think the line's a little bit fuzzy. I think, I'll send you an email. And, yeah, I had to, until my ear adjusted. I mean, that's the funniest thing, right?
Wow.
So that was definitely a challenge. There's a different corporate culture that you have to get used to. Yeah.
How did you, what did you do practically to get adjusted to the company and the difference between the cultures? What were the tools that you used, or what a good advice for people who are coming here?
I think a lot of it is you pick up by observing, right? You're just observing people. So sometimes and that first year I was probably really quiet because I was doing a lot of observing and I didn't have the confidence to speak up. But I will say going into that job, the one thing that helped is that there was all these other opportunities. Like you could do lunch and learns, you could do, there's the staff Christmas party, there's all these other optional elements that are great to dive into. I mean, and it builds a network within the company. It gets you sort of really ingrained into what's it like. So those helped.
Yeah. So you're talking and it just feels like it's so similar to what I experienced and I've never spoke about. Because when I came here, my first year was very similar. Of course, I came here when there was COVID, yada, yada, but it was so similar. I did not have the confidence to speak up. And it just takes so much time but it takes effort to go out there, place yourself out there, go meet people, go to these events that are happening. It's such an active effort to
it does. It does. It takes a lot of energy, right? And for some people, it's exhausting. Yeah. I'm an extrovert, so I love being around people. But even me as an extrovert, that was also exhausting because your brain is so full of different things.
Yeah.
And you can get away with I'm new for a little bit of time, right? Right. There's always I'm sorry,
First 3 months?
I don't know. I think I would stretch it to 6 months, especially if you've moved countries, for sure. When you move countries, you can say, listen, apologies. I actually have only been here for 6 months. I actually don't know what this is about. Can you explain it to me? Does this happen every year? Right? It's like, is this normal? And you kind of play this, it's almost like an innocent, I have no idea. You tell me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And people do, that's a great way to connect with somebody.
It's true.
It's when things are hard that you really do build good connections with people. Yeah.
Interesting. And so you moved back to Toronto. And how did you, like, in terms of building your personal brand and your connections, how do you do that? How do you build a personal brand within a company?
Personal branding is I mean, it's a hot topic these days. And I will say it's not something that I was really, well, maybe I was aware of it when I first got into the workplace. But I think my idea of what a personal brand was actually, what do I think a businesswoman should look like, talk like, do? So it was more like
Oh,
an image in my mind of like this person that I wanted to be, which doesn't work out really well if you're doing it all the time, let me tell you. But the older I got and the more advanced my career, the more I sort of realized, okay, this is how I differentiate myself from others. This is how I'm different than others. And you own it, right? It's like you discover more about, even you pick up things on performance reviews and people will say, you're amazing at this. And you're like, "Oh, really?" But you can pick and choose that sort of stuff. And it's like, what do you want to be known for? Right? What do you want people saying when you've left the building or maybe when you've left the job, right? It's like, what do you want people to remember you as? And that then carries you through, right? That helps you when you're going through the good times and when you're going through the rough times and when you've got that difficult message to deliver. Who am I becomes more authentic, I think.
hmm. But isn't it like that's the hard part because you have
Yeah.
to be then brutally honest with yourself to really know who you are.
Yeah. Right. And it's sort of like the areas of weaknesses is not who you are, right? One of the things that I believe in is to always have fun. And that is my personal brand in work, out of work, to be playful, to have fun. It's part of my values, right?
Did you
So
actively communicate that to the people you worked with?
I did. And it's interesting that you say that because I think when you actually have voiced and said, put a stake in the ground, this is what I want to be known for, then you have to follow through, right? It's like a way of holding yourself accountable.
So just navigating a little bit to to the challenges at workplace. Who am I and what
Well,
do I really want to do in
yeah.
my career? What is career to me? Like, what were the challenges that you faced during that time and how did you navigate them?
Oh, I mean, I remember distinctively, this is in the first part of my career when I was in marketing. I was working for an investment bank, and I had a blast. Let's talk about fun. The people that I worked with were amazing. I did have some challenges, but I was really struggling to try to figure out, is this the sort of place that I can be when I'm 30, when I'm 40? And it's really annoying and humbling when you say no, right? And
Yeah.
I was like, oh, and I was, in all honesty, I think the words that I probably thought were, oh, this sucks. Um, Now I've got to figure out, what do I want? It's very easy, I think, to say, what do you not want?
Yeah.
Right? Way harder to
Exactly.
say what I want.
Yeah.
And what I knew that I didn't want is I could not be marketing equity, yeah, ETFs. Like, it wasn't driving me. The product itself,
Okay.
the service wasn't driving me. Um, and that was important for me. It was important for me to feel passionate about whatever product or services I was I was marketing.
Yeah.
So that's where, yeah, I swung the pendulum really hard because from that move, I went into a non-for-profit. Um,
Oh,
and let's talk about the change from going from an investment banking
to
environment to
not for
corporate.
profit. That's huge.
Whoa, where it's like, it's,
Oh my God.
that was crazy. That was crazy. But at the same
Yeah.
time, hey, listen, I achieved my goal, which was try to find something that I'm passionate about and let's go into it. So check, it worked. I mean, I don't know how
No.
many friends, I'm sure you've got some friends who are like that, where they've gotten into law. They've got into law school. They're so excited. And then they graduate and they realize, oh, I don't want to be a lawyer. Oops.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Such an oops moment at that time.
Yeah, it's one of those annoying things that there's only
No.
so much research you can do, right?
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. And
at a certain
until you
point.
do it, you won't know, right?
No, you got to take a leap of faith at a certain. Hopefully, it's a really
Hmm.
educated leap of faith, as opposed to blindly,
Let's talk
which.
about that. Let's talk about
leap,
educated leap of faith.
yeah, educated leap of faith. Oh gosh, that's
What is that to you? What do you mean by that?
that is getting as much data points as you can about a company, a job, or whatever. The nice thing is people these days move jobs quite a bit. That is
Yeah.
nice in some ways. It's not, I mean, my father, this freaked him out because he was at the same company from the point at which he graduated to the point at which he retired. So every time I made a job move, he was, oh my gosh, are you sure? Like it's, um, but an educated leap of faith is making sure you're doing your research. And there's so many tools out there right now, right? Whether it's Glassdoor or,
Yeah.
yeah, LinkedIn, right? Let's look at LinkedIn and let's look at people who are currently at the company. Do I know any of them? Even this is something that I've told people to do, which always is a mind blowing idea for them. I'm like, don't even look at the people who are in the company. Look at the people who just left,
Mm,
because those are the people who are going to give you the best insight because they have no skin in the game. It's good. Like every job has its pros and cons, and there's going to be some stuff that you love doing and some stuff that you don't love doing.
yeah.
It's just life, unfortunately, right? So and then that's what I mean. You have to make an educated decision on, is this something that I'm ready to go into willingly? Will I be okay with this in a year? It's like,
Mm,
hey, listen, it's like dating, right? When you date somebody and you are like, they chew their mouth open.
yeah.
Oh, is this going to be a roadblock for us? Do we have no future, or can I tolerate this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Okay. Fair.
yeah,
So coming back to your okay, a lot of women and a lot of friends right now are either in their maternity leaves or are
yeah.
planning to take maternity leaves. So
Well,
what would you say? Because a lot of my friends are now worried. How will they get back into the world, like get back to work? They might fall behind, and the corporate world might move ahead, and they may
yeah.
or may not fit in the world. And those are and I'm sure there are other thoughts that are there in their mind which are bothering them. How did you navigate through your personal experience?
It was my situation was very different.
Yeah.
So when I got pregnant, I was contracting with a company um, because economically it was a downturn. They weren't ready to make a full-time offer, and they wanted to try before they buy. So I was working for that company, and I got pregnant, and I told them, and they said, okay, well, that's thanks for being honest with us, and you know, but this doesn't change how we work with you. And it did, unfortunately. That
Mm,
company, they offered, they were dangling a carrot of a full-time offer in front of me. And I came back after the New Year's holidays. And because I was contract, they said, no, things are really slow right now. So don't bother coming into the office. Don't bother coming into the office. And after a while, I realized, oh my gosh, I'm 7 months pregnant and I don't,
yeah.
they don't want me. So that was a lot of sobbing loudly on the bathroom floor um, before I could pick myself up. But
Yeah.
yeah, so in my maternity leave, I mean, when I was 7 months pregnant, I was interviewing for jobs. So that was unique for me. But having said that, I've worked with women who have gone through exactly what you're talking about. Right. It's interesting because women almost feel apologetic for the fact that they can reproduce.
It's
And
so sad.
when you think about it, I'm like, that's actually kind of a gift, isn't it?
It is.
I remember one woman when I was in executive search in London. Oh, she was a force to be reckoned with. I remember she said to me, what maternity leave? Why are you worried about maternity leave? The maternity leave, are you kidding me? Like you are producing the leaders of tomorrow. We should be saying thank you. And she was right. Like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm producing the leaders of tomorrow, and this child might become a doctor and take care of you when you're older. So you should be
Oh,
saying thank you. And right? It's a different perspective of looking at things.
okay. It just
Um,
blew my mind for a second. Oh
right?
my God.
But she was right. And how you choose to spend your maternity leave is your choice, right? You choose
Mm.
that. You don't have to keep the ties with the company if you don't want to. I went back to work after 3 months,
Mm.
and that was partially because I frankly had to. Financially, I had to get back to work,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Um, if I had a choice, I would take a year. But at the same
Yeah.
time, now that I look back, I'm thinking, well, actually, if I took a year, I might actually really enjoy being a mom. And then I really would have pooched the career thing. Um, but it's somebody's choice as to how they want to manage their maternity leave, and do they want to start conversations maybe closer to when they're thinking about returning to work to see what is going on in the company. What are
Mm.
you returning to? What are some of the changes? I know legally the company could not talk to you.
Yeah.
It was, they could not reach out. Now, you as an individual,
Yeah.
you can reach out. So
Hmm.
yeah, you make that choice. And every country has its own different laws, that they
Yeah.
have to protect your job. You have to come back to the same job. Maybe it's a different job, but the same pay.
Yeah.
Again, it's all different. But
Mm.
I mean, it's just so you can get in touch with your friend
Yeah.
and explore what's going on and what changes are happening and start planting
Yeah.
the seed to when you return. Or I
Hmm.
know colleague of mine, she was actively having conversations while she was pregnant about what
Mm.
sort of role she wanted to come back to.
Wow. Okay. Also, I feel like making a choice is a privilege. Like a
Oh,
lot of people, sometimes they don't have that choice to make, even when they want to.
exactly. Yeah, you're right. You're right. I mean, it's true because it is a luxury to be able to walk away from a company.
Yeah.
Um, it might be a choice that you make as in, I would like to see if I can find another job, but you keep that
Mm.
job, right? You don't have to walk away with nothing. If you can do that, I mean, hey, kudos to some of the people out there who can, because yeah, it is a fantastic privilege to have, knowing that financially you're okay, emotionally you're going to be okay with that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It goes back to your calculated risk point, right?
Calculated risks, right? A calculated
Yeah.
decision. How are you going to measure that? But
Yeah.
some people don't have that luxury, and
Yeah.
and and then the question is, what role do you want work to have in your life?
Hmm. Correct.
Right? I think there's a lot of pressure these days to have your job as your life,
Hmm.
and you should define yourself by what you do, which is how I thought when I was younger.
Yeah.
And what I've realized as I've been getting older is that actually it's one of many things that make your life, right? Your life is whatever you want to make of it. I mean, I remember coaching a client who was a total renaissance man. I mean, I think he had 4 or 5 kids. He was
Oh,
happily married. He had a small army of children around, which he
wow.
loved. He was a musician. Oh, he was also a former professional volleyball player. What I'm saying is interesting because of how he's constructed his life and his work. There are so many different spokes to who he is. So if one of those spokes breaks, for example, if the job breaks, it's okay because he's got his wife, he's got his kids, he's got his music, he's got his sports, he's got all these other things that are going to prop him up and help him with the next job,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Wow. Wow. I can't remember if you told me this or someone else did, but it was probably you. I think it was you. For giving you the credit. Okay. So I was asked to write down what matters to me and what is like everything, the 10 things that matter to me. What is that aspect of my life that is helping me fulfill that? You remember that conversation? I
Yeah,
think it
I
was with
do.
you.
I do.
Yeah, and that to me was so beautiful, and I think it should be out there with people that think about. Like it's not that
Everybody
okay.
should
You
go through that exercise, right?
exactly like
Yeah.
my job cannot fulfill everything for me. My a husband cannot fulfill everything for me. My friends cannot fulfill everything for me. But parents cannot. Like everybody, they come together to make this one whole like fulfillment that I
Yeah.
have. And that's the beauty of life, right?
Right. That's a fun one. I remember that exercise. And being very clear on what you value and where is those values not as present, and then trying to figure out, okay, well, what's the balancing act?
Wow.
Yeah.
That I love that exercise. Personally, I was a fan of that exercise. Still do it. And I still ask my friends to do it. And
It's so
it
good,
never
right?
disappoints.
No,
It's really good. Never disappoints.
and sometimes your values change, right? So what's
Yeah.
important to me now was not important to me when I was in my
10 years ago.
20s, or
Yeah.
even 10 years, even last year. Things are changing. Like my parents
Yeah.
are getting older. They're, they having more time to be around
Yeah.
is helpful, and that's something that's important to me. That's now part of my new focus.
Yeah.
So um, that means I do have to have flexibility in everything that I
Mm,
do.
absolutely.
Yeah. And
Absolutely.
that value of flexibility did not exist when I was in my 20s. I was like, yeah, no problem. 60-hour week. I got this. I got this.
Love that. Tell me about your shift from the corporate world um to
Well,
the business world.
that was a real tough decision to make, because the annoying thing is I actually really liked the corporate world.
You were
Um,
so good at it. Oh
so
my God. Everyone was like, OJ, 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 OJ. And I'm like,
there
wait a
wasn't,
second.
listen,
I want to meet this person.
you can, what, there's things that, again, like nobody's perfect. No job is perfect. No company is perfect. But on the whole, it was a pretty cool company. I think in my mind, I'd always known that one day I will leave the corporate sector. I'll set up shop. I'll set up my own business, and
Mm,
I will maybe, I will be a leadership coach, and I will do this for 6 months out of the year, and 6 months out of the year I'll travel. For me, in my mind, I was like, this is the perfect on my way to retirement type of
love.
job.
Okay.
And not that I'm anywhere closer to retirement, but there were a few things that had happened at work and in life, right? So there were some changes structurally to my role that was happening. There was COVID, and there was a moment where my son was being homeschooled, and I would go into my office in the morning, and he would go into his office, which is his bedroom, in the
Yeah.
morning.
Yeah.
And we'd both close the door, and it'd be like, okay, see you. Um,
Oh,
and he was little at the time, right? He was little enough that I'd have to, get his lunch together, make sure things are okay. And I'm just doing that while having doing my corporate job. But there was a moment, I think I'd forgotten to give him lunch one day, or maybe it
okay.
was 2 days. And as a mom, that you feel crushed. You feel like you failed. You're like, oh my gosh, I haven't even delivered basic need of feeding my child.
Oh my God.
And my mother came up with the ingenious idea, which she was really smart about this. She's like, why don't you get him a lunchbox? And it's like, that's so smart. Yes, I will do that. And I did do that. And that was perfect, because then if I had a meeting during lunch hour, I didn't have to, it wasn't this moment of panic of, oh my gosh, what's
Yeah.
missing? Going to do. My parents as well, getting older. And there were other things that became more important to me that weren't important a few years ago. Right.
Mm,
And now all of a sudden it was more important. And it was more important for me to build in more flexibility. And that's when I decided, actually, this retirement plan could
mm.
actually be my full-time job. And so I had a heart-to-heart talk um, with my boss, with my boss's boss's boss, and and said, hey, listen, I've loved the stint that I've had here. It's been amazing, but I think it's time for me to leave and do something different. I'm going to do my own thing. And they were gracious about it.
Love that. What I
Well,
was thinking was that the beauty of people understanding at your job that okay, we're here to support you. I think it also goes back to you building those relationships with people within the company as well. I
yeah,
feel like, of course, your credibility in terms of your job is utmost, like it's the first thing in terms of the work that you're doing, but also the relationship that you built with people. It that would have had a huge impact.
True. It's true. And you're right, because I mean, ultimately those relationships, you need to be able to do your job, right? It's really hard to form a strong bond with people in that corporate job if you're not doing that job well. You build those relationships, you build that trust. Yeah.
Very true.
Trust is
Very
earned
true.
by proving yourself and showing up in a way that is above and beyond your job. Showing that you care, showing that you're there for somebody, you got their back. That's where you build relationships.
Wow.
Oh,
That's powerful, difficult,
yeah.
but beautiful. Like if you see the results of it, it's beautiful as well.
Find those people who you do care about.
Absolutely.
Well,
I know we're almost up on time, so I'm just going to wrap this up. But I want to wrap it up with 2 questions for you. But
okay.
what advice would you give to people who are stuck in their careers, who feel stuck in their jobs, who feel stuck in their careers in general? What is your advice? And what are certain habits, tools, and resources that you would recommend given your expertise, your experience to these people?
Yeah. When you are stuck in your career or you feel stuck in your career, that's different, right? You are not stuck in your career. You feel stuck.
Feel stuck.
And that is something that you need to do a deep diagnostic on. That's where it's great to work with a coach if you have that flexibility. If you don't, there is, I mean, that exercise that we spoke about, which is really useful to try to look at, okay, take a step back. What is important to me in my life? And then look at the job, the company, and try to figure out, where is the values being missed, or what is going on here? And then once you identify that, the next question is, okay, can we find, is there another area of my life that can support this? Because your job can't be everything to you. And do you really need to leave because you feel stuck? Maybe you don't. Maybe there's something that you can do to infuse more of that value into your job so you can feel less stuck. That would be something that I would recommend somebody do. Write down your values, compare it to your job, identify where it's missing, and then get creative.
Awesome. And stay committed to that exercise.
Yes. Yeah. Do it again. Do it multiple times in your life. That's, that's the wonderful thing about the holidays, right? People have that opportunity to walk away from the job and just breathe. Let's try to figure out, am I in the right place? Am I not? Okay, what do I need to do?
Yeah. Okay, that's great. Awesome. One last piece of advice for women in leadership who are balancing everything in this world: a job, a career, life, people, husband, partners.
Oh, it's a journey. It's a journey, right? Don't be so hard on yourself, because what you need now is going to be different than what you need in 5 years, and it's going to be different than what you need in 10 years. So I would say to women, be playful about it. Your job is one part of who you are, and it shouldn't define who you are as a female leader. But have fun.
But have fun with it. I love that. Okay, amazing. Thank you so much, OJ. Thank you for joining us for this podcast episode. I am so grateful, and I really appreciate you being here with me today. And thank you so much.
Well, thank you very much for having me and asking me the tough questions. Maybe you can ask me easier questions next time.
Yes, that's right.
Just joking. Amazing, Sindhu.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of The Corporate Connect. In our next episode, we are in conversation with Mr. Satyanand Shah, exploring his journey from being a software engineer to a chief business officer, uncovering learnings in leadership, work-life balance, career transition, and so much more. So do not forget to subscribe to our Spotify, YouTube, and Instagram channel, and stay tuned for more.